Saddle making goes back thousands of years, but in modern times, saddle makers have realized that a bad-fitting saddle can be a real pain for the horse. The rider will feel that pain in the animal's attitude and performance. So now, saddles are often custom-made to fit both the horse and the rider. It's a little 21st century horse sense. To make an English saddle, they attach both rigid and flexible steel strips to a frame made of polyurethane, which is called a tree. Then they rivet a stirrup bar through the tree to the steel that's just been fastened to the underside. With a jigsaw, a worker cuts a hole in the tree and then glues foam for cushioning. Now he coats the back of the cantle, or seat, with glue and sticks a piece of leather onto it. He crimps the leather around the edges of the tree, and using a special tool for cutting leather, called a clicker knife, he carves away the extra material. Then he sprays glue onto the top of the tree and presses a layer of foam onto it. Using an ordinary kitchen knife, he slices away excess foam at the sides and carves out more foam to shape the seat. Then he shaves the edges with a rasp. Next, he layers 2 more foam pieces over it and sculpts and shaves those layers. He runs a measuring stick along the seat to make sure it's even, and then pastes a piece of black foam on top to add even more cushioning. Now, with a half-moon blade, another worker slices a piece of leather to make a saddle flap. She follows a trace out of the rider's leg. She feeds the flap piece into a skiving machine. Its circular blade shaves the edges of the leather as a wheel pulls it through. The thinned-out edges will be easier to sew later on. Next, she heat stamps the saddle logo onto the flap. She also stamps the model, serial number, tree and seat size onto the saddle. Now she glues foam to a hard piece of leather to make a knee pad, and sticks softer leather on the top, where the rider's knee will rest. Then, using a piece of whalebone, she draws the leather tight around the edges so that it's smooth on top. Whalebone is used because it doesn't scar or scratch leather. Next, she seals the front edges and then crimps them together, the way a baker crimps the edges of a pie. She pulls the leather tight from the backside and paints glue onto the fatter rim. Then she brushes glue onto the flap and presses the knee pad and flap together so the glue sticks. She hammers them to strengthen the bond. Then stitches them together along that glue line using a big industrial sewing machine. With a steel prod, she stuffs a wool and synthetic mixture into the panel which will be on the horse's back. It's being stuffed with a certain horse in mind. The amount of stuffing used depends on the shape of the horse the saddle is being made for. She hammers it flat with a rubber mallet and then stitches the panel to the top of the saddle. To sew through the leather layers, she makes a hole with an awl and then pulls the needle and thread through it, spraying water to keep the leather soft. She hammers the seam to get rid of any gaps between the layers. But sewing the back of the panel to the bottom of the seat is a bit trickier. She uses a curved awl and needle to work with the contours. It's taken about 25 hours to piece together this customized English saddle, and that's with no horsing around. This is the Saddle Tech device, and they use it to make sure the saddle measures up. It measures it in 4 sections. Now it's onto the tree machine. It adjusts the gullet plate, the piece of rigid steel that sits above the horse's withers. Plastic panels support the saddle, while a hydraulic press bends the plate to fit the measurement. Now it's time to saddle up and check out the horsepower from this custom-made seat.